Hey guys, welcome to another episode of How We Disney. Today, Sarah and I are going to be talking about our favorite shows at Disney World. And for us, shows mean, late night shows, fireworks, shows that happen during the day throughout the parks, parades, pretty much a non-moving entertainment would be considered a show for the purposes of this video. And so for that, Sarah, do you want to kind of start us off with a little bit more information?
Yeah, so again, I would say of the two of us, I probably like shows a lot more. I drag Jeff to shows a lot, or I'll meet up with friends. We're only going to focus with Disney World shows, so we're going to rank our top 5 shows each. My guess is these will be more similar than maybe some of our other ones, but there could be a few surprises. But yeah, there's way more shows. So when we were talking about this episode, Jeff was like, are there even that many shows? And there's a ton if you start listing them out. Like there's everything from stage shows. So even just focusing on one park, you have in Hollywood like Muppets and Little Mermaid and Indy and Fantasmic and Beauty and the Beast. So there's just so many different types of shows. So I'm really excited for this one. I especially love the Disney shows. So do you want to start out with number 5? Or
Yeah. So my 5th favorite show in Disney World is the Finding Nemo musical in Animal Kingdom. And really, I think this is kind of a sleeper show. We hadn't done it. We did it years ago, and then it had been a number of years until we recently did it again. And I forgot just how good this show is. The cast or the performers, they are so skilled. It tells this whole story, the puppetry, the colors and the music, and just the way they sing and interact with each other is just far beyond what I remembered the show being. And I'm so glad we've gone and done it again, because since then, I think we've actually done it 2 or 3 times, and it's quickly become one of my top shows in Disney World. It's just so entertaining, and it's just the performers have so much skill in that show that I just love going to watch it.
Yeah, that is actually my number 5 as well.
Oh,
so
nice.
I had a few close ones. So if we match for a lot of these, I'll kind of elaborate on a few that were very close to beating this one out. But yeah, I think that there's a couple things that I really like about Nemo and I appreciate about Nemo. And this is going to be in Animal Kingdom. So just if you're trying to think like, where is the Finding Nemo musical? So yeah, it's in Animal Kingdom. It's between Everest and Dinoland. And it's because I think it's to the side of the park too. It maybe doesn't get as much attention as some of the stuff that's in the middle of the park, but it is so good. The puppets are huge. It really does go through the movie, but at the same time, so I think if you're a kid watching the show, you see Nemo, or you see the sharks, or you see the characters, but as an adult especially, I think you appreciate the fact that there's somebody up there singing the songs and doing and making the puppet go with it perfectly. So I think that's definitely, like, completely agree why it's one at least worth checking out. It's a pretty long show. It's 40 minutes, so you need to plan for this one. It's offered a few times a day, so again, you need to make sure, like, we're catching the noon show or we're catching the 1 show. One benefit, which I think may have been why we popped back into it for the first time recently, was AC. So I think it was a very hot day and we're like, hey, the show's about to start. Do we want to go in? And so it is air-conditioned theater. Not all of our shows that we'll talk about are going to be air-conditioned, but in Florida, this is an important aspect as well. So yeah, I think this is just a really great show. Do you have any opinions on like seating or getting there early?
No, I mean, if you're up close, you just get a better view. It's kind of cool because the stage comes out a little bit into the crowd. But one thing I will mention about this show is, there's nothing fancy about the stage. There's no 3D work. There's no real acrobatics. There's no fireworks. Really, it's the cast or the performers and their skill and their singing and the way they interact with each other that really just makes this an awesome show for me.
Yeah, so there's like a catwalk going up the middle. So one of the times we saw it recently, we were like right by there, which was really cool because they were right up next to you. I will say if you're up towards the back more, if you get to the far side on either side, you can sometimes maybe miss a little bit. So if you are there a little early, try to stay at least towards the center, regardless of if you're close or not. But I mean, there's really not a bad seat.
Yeah, and that being said, I don't think the show ever is, at capacity. So the only way you'd really be up in a back corner, I think, is if you chose to sit there.
Yeah.
So at least our experience recently with it is it's never even really close to being, at capacity. You can find a seat where you want to.
And that actually is like one of my other reasons that did make it into my top 5 is Disney does have a lot of shows. Some of the shows you have to get there very early for, or you may not get in. And this one I feel like is pretty easy to go watch. So yeah, if you're in Animal Kingdom and you want to catch it, odds are good. I would not ever use a fast pass on this one. But yeah, odds are good that you could go see it.
Yeah.
So yeah, same number 5.
All right. Well, then you should go with your number 4.
All right, my number 4 is in Hollywood Studios, and it's Indiana Jones, Stunt Spectacular.
So that is higher on my list,
It's
but it's on my list.
on your list. Okay,
yes.
so we're good talking about it right now?
Yes, let's go for it.
All right, so Indy, for me, is the perfect example of a Disney show in the sense that Hollywood Studios is meant to show like how Hollywood works and behind the scenes and make you feel like you're in Hollywood. And while I have other shows that rank higher, this show fits so well for like what Disney wanted to show, at least for me, of what they wanted to show with this Hollywood Studios park. So basically, you're not watching the Indiana Jones movie like you are with Nemo. So Nemo is like, oh, you see the story with the puppets. This is, they show you how the stunts in Indy are done. And so I think that aspect is just so cool for any age, regardless of if you're an Indiana Jones fan or not. If you are, most people are, it makes it even better. But yeah, I think it's just so great for many reasons. But the tie to Hollywood Studios and the meaning of Hollywood Studios is a big one for me. How about you?
Yeah, so I really like it for those reasons, but also, I mean, this is a great attraction or a great show because it has adventure, it has a hero coming to the rescue, it has cast that are doing multiple different roles, and you get to see them up close, and it's got audience participation, so it really just ties in everything that I think you want in a Disney show. It's not boring at any part. You know, there's excitement from the boulder rolling to car chases to an airplane scene to everything else in between, and it really just keeps you moving while kind of showing you this informational side, which is this is how, you know, a movie is made, or this is how we would change scenes, or this is how a big act or a big stunt would be conducted. And it's kind of a neat tie-in between the two where you're learning something, but you don't really realize you're learning it until after you've left the show. And you're like, wow, that was really fun. Can you believe that's how they do this or that's how they do that? And I think that aspect of it is why it even ranked higher for me than number 4.
So what was it number for you?
It was number 3.
Number 3. Okay, so we were close at least.
Yeah, it was close.
Yeah, so for all those reasons, it is outside, so but you have cover. So it's a trade-off where they have fans, you have cover, so it's still manageable. It's a very big theater, so I mean, again, seating is very nice. They have multiple shows a day. So all of those type of things also, I think, make it easy for a guest to experience and to enjoy. And I think that these shows where you sit and you watch it, as opposed to maybe some other shows where you have to stand to watch, like parades or fireworks or anything, you might have to be standing. These, I think, are shows that anyone can enjoy, even if you have somebody that maybe can't stand for long periods of time. This is a perfect way, or somebody has motion sickness, like go watch a show. These shows are just so good. And this is like a perfect one that anyone can enjoy.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, anything else for Indy?
No, I think that I will say Indy does usually get busy. I'm not sold out, but if you do want to get a good seat in Indy, and I do think good seats matter more here. You want to be closer to the action, but you do want to get there a little bit early. This one, people are excited for it, and it shows when they line up for it. This one a little bit early.
Yeah, no, I think that's a fair point. And Jeff did mention the audience participation, and I think a lot of Disney fans, it's like your dream to be chosen for the show. But if it's your first time watching the show, I maybe would say don't participate, because I don't know if you get to catch everything. I mean, if it's your once-in-a-lifetime Disney trip, go for it. But you will maybe miss certain parts of the show because you're participating. But it is really, really has funny humor parts, but a lot of action. And so, yeah, I strongly recommend you watch it on your Disney trip. So, like, even first-timers, I would say make time to watch this.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. All right, so that is your number 3.
Yeah,
correct?
so should do my number 4?
Oh, yeah, sorry. Yeah, do your number 4.
All right, so number 4 for me is definitely on Sarah's list and higher, but it is Fantasmic.
That is my number 3.
Okay, perfect. So Fantasmic for me is number 4 because, well, first talk about all the good things. It's an awesome show, so many characters, it's got fireworks, it's got a great storyline, it's got excitement, it's got good versus evil, it's got Mickey versus, the dragon. It's got everything you want in a Disney show, but for me, the thing that I just don't enjoy about our Fantasmic here is it is so popular that you literally have to be there 30, 45, sometimes even an hour early unless you have a fast pass for it. Mm-hmm. And then you just sit on these hard benches surrounded by people, usually in hot weather, for an hour, and you're just sitting there. So excluding that, if they could, make a larger stadium or have more seatings of this so I could show up 20 minutes early, it probably would have ranked much higher. But this is an amazing, amazing show that I think the Imagineers have done an awesome job putting together. And really, I just love the way that you can see so many characters in one place, and that it's all this story about Mickey fighting evil and trying to overcome this dragon at the end, and then you get this huge celebration, and the way the characters just interact, I think it's an awesome experience and a great way for you to kind of experience all the Disney characters in one spot while having an enjoyable show, which, you can't really get in too many other places.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. So I think the biggest dings against it are definitely getting there early and having to save a seat. Mm-hmm. The stadium, even though it's hard to get a spot, is massive. So it is still a very big space. I wish they could find a way, either have more showings or some way of making it so it's not as big of a commitment to get in and get a seat. And because it is also very big, you can get pushed to the sides as well. And sometimes they have certain areas blocked off if you have a fast pass or a dining package or something like that. So your seating is variable based on like what is available when you get there, and being very far to the sides, you can still see everything, but it maybe isn't quite as good as being in the middle. So there's definite trade-offs, but for me, the things that really stand out is, one, the music is phenomenal. So it's just such a good soundtrack, and you get emotionally attached to it. And for me, like when you see Mickey at the end, it's just like, oh my God, I'm in Disney. And it's just like all of those things, regardless if it's your first time watching it or you maybe have seen the show many, many times, it still brings that emotional tie to me. And then also, this one is available in other parks around the world. I maybe will not say that Disney World has the best one. I think some of the others maybe have things that are better about them. But I think the fact that they're each a little bit different is still fun too. So if you come from a different theme park that has a Fantasmic, so if you've seen it in like Tokyo or Disneyland, I still think that the Disney World one's different, and that adds excitement to it as well. So they already have a fabulous show, but even if you have it in another park, it's not the same still.
Yeah, I mean, there's similarities, especially between Disneyland and Disney Worlds. Tokyo's is completely different, but again, I think they've closed Tokyo's down anyways now, just recently. But yeah, there's similarities, but they're still different enough that you absolutely would enjoy and want to watch this show. So I think it's a great show. If they could just figure out how to make it so I didn't have to show up an hour early, that would be an unbelievably awesome, much higher ranking show. But as it is, it's definitely worth going to see. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind that an hour wait is worth it if you haven't seen this show, or if it's been a long time since you've seen it, because it is an outstanding show.
Yeah, no, I agree. The fact that it has Mickey, and Mickey is Disney and all of that, I think that also is like a huge factor for me, that you're kind of watching Mickey. If you take this show, and I'm going to compare it to another nighttime show, which I don't believe is your number 1 or 2, so it's okay. But if you compare it to like Rivers of Light, it's just night and day. So like Rivers of Light is still beautiful and all of that. It didn't make my top 5, not even close. I imagined the same for Jeff, but this one's just in a whole different league, and it's just so well done. So yeah, strongly recommend and love that one.
Yeah, I completely agree. So yeah.
So that was my 3.
We've indirectly gone through the top 3. Or the bottom 3.
Bottom 3.
So what do you have for number 2?
My number 2 is very close, but it is actually Happily Ever After.
Wow.
I know, I put it as number 2.
I don't even know what your number 1 will be now.
I know. It was, so okay. my number 1 and number 2 were very close.
Let's talk about number 2 right now.
All right, so
because that's, real quick, that is number 1 on my list, so we can absolutely talk about it.
Okay, so number 2 for me is Happily Ever After, and the reason it's my number 2, not my number 1, is because I feel like, especially for there's many reasons I love it. Like, everyone should watch this show. I absolutely love this show. I was so sad when Disney got rid of Wishes, and I was like, no way will anything ever be close to Wishes. And I was like, they did it. It's better. Like, I love this show. And so it's in Magic Kingdom. It's the nighttime fireworks show. This soundtrack is amazing. The fireworks are amazing, but also the projections are amazing. And so I feel like to fully appreciate Happily Ever After, you need to be in front of the castle. And so this gets into, you can still watch Happily Ever After anywhere in the park, and it's good, and you can see the fireworks, and the fireworks fireworks are really, really good. But I feel like as a first timer, like anybody for the first time, I'd say you have to watch it from the front. But the trade-off is to watch it from the front of the castle means you're going to be waiting a while. So in quiet time of the year, it's probably at least like 45 minutes-ish. Would you agree?
I mean, you could probably go
Half
up
hour, 45?
25 to 30 if you didn't want to be right in the hub. If you're okay being on Main Street, back maybe by Starbucks or Casey's Corner area, which I think is fine. But yeah, if you want to be up in the hub, by the statue, close, you probably have 30 to 40 minutes if, there's more than two of you. If there's two of you, you can kind of sneak your way in if that's what you want to do. But it's a long wait, and it's very crowded.
It's very crowded. It can be very hot. So I'd argue the hotness of standing and waiting for that is almost more than Fantasmic because you're all smushed together. And so I think we watched Happily Ever After quite a bit from back by Beauty and Beast Castle. So there you can see the fireworks and still hear the soundtrack, but you don't get the castle projections, which I really do think are so amazing and so oppressive. But I honestly, the past, I can't even remember how many trips. It's been a long while since I've seen the front of the castle just because we'll usually go to the back because we don't want to wait for it as long. It's probably been 5 or 6 months. But so why did it make your number one?
So for actually many of the things you just said about being in back. To me, if I watch this in the back of the castle, by Beauty and the Beast, it's still, even without the projections, to me, the best show in Disney. So not being on Main Street doesn't really matter. The fact that I can watch this from the Polynesian, I can watch this from the Contemporary on, the fire escape or at California Grill, the fact that I can watch this on Main Street, I can watch this from behind by Beauty and the Beast, I can watch this from just about anywhere and still get the music, still get the fireworks, and still really enjoy the show is what makes this so unique to me, because it's not just one show then. Every different spot you're standing is a different perspective and a different way of watching this show. So really it's one show that you can watch 5 or 6 different ways, all while being, within a mile of that castle in one direction or another. So because you can hear the music just about anywhere, and that to me is what makes this the greatest show in Disney, is the music with the fireworks. The projections are just an added benefit if you happen to be on Main Street. That's not what makes the show for me. So for that reason, it kind of made my number one, is I can listen to the music and I can watch the fireworks, and it's just a different perspective depending on where I stand, but it's the same music and fireworks from any of those spots.
Yeah. No, I completely agree with everything you said. And the emotion that you can get from watching fireworks is so crazy as well. So
it's the music in the fireworks.
It's the music, yeah. So it's the music that draws you in, and they just pulled in so many amazing songs. And I remember watching, Disney had a thing, I don't know if it's the Magical Express or what I was watching, but they say fireworks have emotion. And so this firework makes me happy and this firework is scary. And they really do work that way. And they do it so well in kind of bringing those all together. And Disney World is, I think, the one park that they just can, because they have so much land, can go all out with their fireworks. So it's just one of those where you'll watch the part where it's Hercules, I can go the distance, and you think that's the finale because it's the fireworks are insane at that part, but it's not. It keeps going. And so for me, honestly, my Happily Ever After and my number one were pretty much the same. Because you have to wait for them. For me to get Happily Ever After and it's true, you should watch it this way, it is the front of the castle, and that was just my okay, how often do we do that? Or so that was where I was torn. But honestly, you have to, if you're taking a Disney trip, you have to watch Happily Ever After fireworks. You cannot miss it.
Oh, absolutely.
So so I think that's a very very good number one.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming, do you have any other about Happily Ever After?
No, I think that's about it. Yeah.
Yeah, so definitely don't miss it. I listen to that soundtrack all the time when we're at home.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, so that's a no-brainer as well. But for me, it was one. I imagine your number two. My number one is the Lion King show.
That is my number
Animal
two.
Kingdom.
Yeah, it's my second favorite show.
So we had the same show, slightly different orders. But yeah, for me, the Lion King show is basically the same. It's what are you in the mood for? Are you in the mood for fireworks and outside experience? Or the Lion King show is in Animal Kingdom, and it's in a theater, and it's a circle theater. So it has people sitting all 360 degrees around him, and it's a very intimate setting. And so the reason I really like the Lion King show, or I guess the main reasons I like it, and then I'll let you kind of add, is there's a lot of them throughout the day. And so the Lion King show is one where you look and it's like, okay, I have a ton of times to choose from. They're inside. I get a break in the AC. And so the convenience of that show, it's not like you have one happily ever after fireworks and you need to be outside. And so planning a trip, I think the ease of this one is really, really nice. And then the show itself is amazing. So it has a combination of like acrobats and dancing and live singers. The live singers in the Lion King show, the musician or all the music acts in like all of the shows are very good, but just the Lion King, the voices are just phenomenal. Like they are so, so good. And so I think all of those things kind of factor in for why maybe it just barely, probably the convenience, honestly. Convenience and AC are the reason that it squeaked out maybe ahead for me. But I mean, my heart is still like destined to be with Happily Ever After as well. So I'm torn. I'm very torn. But why did it get so high for you?
Yeah, for a lot of those same reasons. I mean, it's just an unbelievably diverse show, right? Sharon mentioned you have singers, but you also have fire dancers. You have storytelling. You have audience participation. You have, the story of the entire show as well. So the entire thing just fits together really, really well. It's interesting. It's engaging. You can watch it a bunch of different times, and the show's always the same, but you always find yourself kind of wrapped up in what's going on. You don't think of it as, oh, I'm just here again. It's just that good of a show. I love the performers. I mean, from the tumble monkeys to the fire dancing to just the main singing, the woman who sings at the beginning, she is unbelievable. The entire thing is just really, really well done, and I think that that's why it was my number 2. It just doesn't have the same feel to me as Happily Ever After, but it's an outstanding show that I think is one of the best ones in Disney.
Yeah, and I do appreciate too, they have floats that come in with the characters. They do some stage changes, so like they never like full switch the stage, but you have like the Tumble Monkeys, there's people doing acrobatics, I guess, and they have the birds. I don't know what technically
they swing from a harness.
Yeah, we are not well versed in our like circus terms, I guess. But yeah, so you have aerial performers. I don't know. That's the closest I can get. But yeah, so you just have everything. And like Jeff mentioned, there's audience participation. So they have people making animal noises to welcome in the guests. So that's everyone's doing it. If you have little ones, they might take them and like walk them around the float in this area. And so it's just something that it feels like you're watching a Broadway show, like a full production with these costumes, and everything is just so well done, but it's like in your living room. So it is just so close with all of the cast members. Yeah. So I think kind of the intimacy, like Disney could have made a huge theater and it would have been okay, but they made it so intimate. And I really, really do like think it works because of that, or it ranks higher for me because of that.
Yeah, and I mean, like she mentioned earlier, the fact that it's a circular theater, 360, it doesn't matter really where you sit. You have an amazing view, and it is so small that you're going to feel like the show is there for you. It's not just, some big thing going on out in front of you. It's that you are there and you are engaged in this show, and it really is an outstanding performance. I mean, these actors and actresses, they aren't just there, dancing or whatever. They're singing, they're performing some feat that is either acrobatic or, something that I certainly can't do. And it's not something that your average person off the street could do. And it's that engaging, that level of performance that I think makes this show so good.
I agree. And then when it comes to like viewing this show, so we were saying how like Fantasmic and Happily Ever After, you have to get there quite early. This one, there are lots of different shows. Depending on how your fast passes work out in Animal Kingdom, you can't always use a fast pass on this. We have in the past done that, especially if we have family members that maybe don't want to ride like Everest or something like that. That can be a perfect one instead. But for this one, I would say you can still easily get into a show if you don't have a fast pass because there's so many spots. But if you want to be like close as possible, then that's always a good option if you want to. So if there's no other rides you really are like dying to do in Animal Kingdom, then this could be a fine one. But otherwise, they do happen so frequently that it's not like an end all where you would need a fast pass or get there hours ahead or anything like that. But yeah, I think it's just a really, really awesome, well done show by Disney that I would say everyone can watch it, all ages. It's just such a good one.
Well, I guess that's our top 5. I'm kind of surprised that our 5 shows were all the same.
Me too. I wasn't sure.
I mean, they were different orders, but I did not think they'd be the same shows. Because we never talk about these rankings ahead of time.
Yeah.
We always just make them ourselves, come in, and then talk about them. So this one is actually pretty surprising to me.
I think this is our first one where we've had this happen. But can I say one honorable mention?
Sure.
So there was one that was a really close call for me with Nemo. So Nemo was my number 5. I think it was your 5 as well, right? So for that one, I would say Nemo with the puppets won for me just because I appreciate the puppets and how they do that and all those reasons we talked about. But the Beauty and the Beast live on stage show in Hollywood Studios is also amazing. So that is like a mini Broadway show. The costumes are gorgeous. I think the reasons it didn't make my list is because it's outside and it can be very hot. It's just, there's not puppets and stuff. But with that being said, if you have somebody in your family who's a big Beauty and the Beast fan, I'm a big Beauty and the Beast fan, but I didn't let that kind of bias my choice. But that is one that I still strongly recommend. It was like this close to being my number 5. But that is another, like, as an honorable mention, I just had to throw it out there because I feel like the list can't, at least, like, this video can't not mention it. So it's really good. You don't usually go with me.
No,
I'll usually go with friends.
I don't care for that one, but that's all right.
Yeah, but if you do have somebody in your groups who likes Broadway or who is a Beauty and the Beast fan, they are live singers. The costumes are fabulous. The dancing is fabulous. I would definitely still check it out. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks again for following along. We'll be back next weekend with another episode. Until then, thanks, guys.
Thanks.